So you've got your car sat on your driveway or even in the garden behind your house, for instance. Maybe it's not been used in months and you haven't taxed it and you haven't sawn it off the road. But you're thinking, it's on private land, so what's the worst that could happen? Well, actually, quite a lot. So in this video, we're looking at what really happens when you don't tax your car, from fines to clamps to crushed cars, and answering one of the biggest questions we get is, what if it's on private land, such as your driveway or even parked in the garage, or on a rental property? So stick around, you might be surprised of what I've found out. So if we've been driving for a while or new to driving, we've all come across something called vehicle excise duty, and that's the rip-off road tax that we have to pay for our crumbling roads. That goes up every year, and they find new ways to put your car in a different bracket and charge even more, but that's by the by. So what we're going to look at is a few oddities in this video. So here's the bit that people miss. Even if your car is parked up and not being used and driven on the roads, it still needs to be sawn off the road with a statutory off-road notification, and it has to be parked off the road, not sawn and left parked on the road. You just can't leave your car idle and assume that you're in the clear. The law treats non-taxed vehicles seriously, and enforcement is largely automated using number plate recognition and the DVLA's database. So what happens if you skip taxing your car and don't declare it sawn? Well, first you usually get a reminder or a warning from the DVLA. If you ignore that warning, then they'll issue a fixed penalty notice, usually about £80, which is reduced to £40 if you pay it off quickly. DVLA have the power to clamp or tow vehicles they find untaxed. Contractors are hired to enforce this, and they don't hang about. They act quite quickly because they get paid once the vehicle has been recovered. You'll come back to find a bright yellow clamp on your car and a warning sticker on the windscreen. To get it released, you're looking at a £100 fee plus £21 a day if it ends up in a storage compound. Leave it longer than 24 hours and it could be towed. Leave it even longer than that and your vehicle could be auctioned off or crushed. Yes, crushed. So you don't really want to leave it. That's not, unless it's a complete £300 banger, which there's not many of them around now. That's not an exaggeration. We've seen real cases that of this actually happening. For example, this one, a commuter in London parked their car at a train station for a few weeks, forgot to tax it. By the time they returned, the DVLA had clamped it, towed it, and charged over £250 in fees just to release it. Then there's the owner of a classic Mini in Bristol who left their car outside their house untaxed for 5 months. They assumed because it wasn't being driven, it didn't matter. But someone reported it, the DVLA enforcement showed up and the car was seized, later confirmed to have been destroyed. Or how about a student in Leeds who ignored multiple fines for an untaxed car and ended up in a magistrate's court with a total bill of £765 to pay? The point is, this stuff happens all the time, and the DVLA takes non-payment seriously, and once the system is triggered, it's difficult to stop. Now, this is where a lot of people get caught out, especially if you live in a rented property. If your car is on a private driveway, even at the house you rent, it's still classed as being kept. And the same if you own the property as well, it's still being classed as kept. This means it still has to be taxed or SORN off the road. If it's not, DVLA can still issue a fine because SORN isn't an optional thing. You have to do one or the other. It's a legal requirement. The good news is, if the car is on truly private land, like your own driveway or a fenced off back garden, the DVLA usually can't enter and clamp it or tow the vehicle. Enforcement teams do not have the legal power to enter private land without a court order, and they rarely bother to get one. But that doesn't protect you from fines, and if you don't pay the fine, it escalates. Now, I was trying to think on what grounds could they get a court order to enter the property, and let me know down in the comments if you can think of a scenario which they could get a court order for. And I don't think there's actually very many they can, the DVLA can, because if there's outstanding finance, the debt is with the finance company. So it would be the finance company get in touch with the bailiffs to get the court order to seize the vehicle, not the DVLA. And also, if the car was reported stolen and it's spotted parked on the drive, a stolen vehicle, then that is actually a police issue, not the DVLA. So I don't quite know what circumstances have to be so they can enter the property to seize the car, purely from a DVLA perspective. So where it gets messy is shared spaces, like car parks outside of blocks or apartments or housing estates, where it's not its own driveway, it's actually a car park. And if the land is accessible to the public, i.e. not gated or fenced, even if it's technically private, DVLA may still consider it within their enforcement zone. That means they can clamp a car parked in your rented bay, or if the area isn't clearly gated or signed as private, they could clamp it or tow it. So if your car is untaxed and sat in a rented property car park, don't assume it's safe. Always declare it SORN if you're not using it. So let's say you've missed the reminder or you didn't realize the tax had expired. Can you get out of it? Well, the short answer is not easily. Even if you didn't receive a DVLA letter, you're still legally responsible to tax the vehicle or SORN the vehicle. Saying I forgot won't hold up in front of a magistrate. And if you act quickly, you might get the fine reduced. But if you ignore and it escalates to court, then you'll be facing much higher costs and maybe not even get your car back. So it's not really worth the gamble. So here's what most people do. If you're not using the car for a long time, SORN it off the road or just keep taxing your car. Don't assume being on private land or in a rental property gives you a free pass, because it doesn't. And if you leave it for too long, that project car or classic restoration you've got sat on your drive that you've been working on, it might not be there when you come back. So that's interesting, that where you say it might not be there when you come back when it's on private land. I think pretty much it will be there, but the fines will start rolling in. Yeah, so stay safe on the roads, and I shall see you in the next video. Please like, subscribe, and see you soon. Take care now. Bye for now. So a quick message to the keyboard warriors out there. If you feel compelled to write a comment saying, oh, this video is nothing new, I already know this, it's pointless watching this video, well, good on you. You know, if you know it, you know it. But there's probably a lot of people out there that it's a little bit of a grey area that don't quite understand it, and that's who this video is directed to. So you know, think about that before you do like a comment that's a little bit I don't know, negative. So, you know,